Seattle House Mafia.
All right, once again, we are back in the Seattle House Mafia HQ. Tonight's guest has played alongside Gene Ferris, Felix the House Cat, Deep Dish, Doc Martin, to name a few, right?
Yep.
And I know there's a lot more than that.
Yeah.
He's also accumulated a bunch of top 10 tracks and some number ones in his production career as well, right? You've done releases on Flash Mob Records, Viva Recordings, Strip Digital Recordings, Open Bar Music, as some examples. So just a welcome to my old friend Terry Jasinto.
Thank you very much.
So really glad you made it in, man.
Yeah, really good to be here, and I'm happy to finally be in your space. I mean, I see it all the time, and I'm like, wow, this is like, I would hate to move all this stuff.
Isn't it funny how perspective works like that? Like some people are like, whoa, I'd love to have that space. Like I've sort of created my dream space, and you walk in, you're like, man, since you just moved, you're like, I'd hate to move that
stuff
shit
again,
Dude, moving records is the worst.
Yeah, I mean, I've scaled my collection down to 12 crates of records that I just can't get rid of them. Maybe I can let go of another crate, but that's it. That's manageable at almost 50.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, well, first off, why are you in Seattle? What brought you up here?
Well, so I'm, my mom's up here, and like I was telling Sangdo earlier, love Sangdo to death, and we're just having like conversation about our parents and whatnot. But my mom's getting up there, and she's up here, she's all alone, and she's still super independent, and I just wanted to check on her, and just happened to be my son's spring break.
Nice.
And so just brought him up here to visit, and then you hit me up, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it.
The timing was so perfect.
It was perfect,
right?
yeah. It definitely
was. It's interesting. I think you, myself, a lot of people I know are going through this. Nobody ever gave us the deal like we're going to have to actually sort of take care of our parents in the end, right? And make sure they're okay.
Well, yeah.
I wasn't prepped for it either. And I went through a very similar thing until, my mom passed last year, but it was...
Sorry about that.
Yeah. No. But I mean, she was 92. Like she lived a long, full life. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's just interesting that it wasn't really in my awareness that I'm going to have to make sure my mom's okay, but we're all going through it. I have so many friends going through this thing, kind of taking care.
Well, I think too, like, when you're saying your mom's 92, I know that you and I are like the same age.
Yes.
I mean, our parents are World War II parents.
Yeah, for
right?
sure.
And so my mom always raised me like, don't worry about me. Don't
totally
just live your life and do what you want to do. And she still kind of does that. I'm like, Mom, why don't you move to San Diego? She's like, what am I gonna do down there? I don't know anybody down there.
San Diego's amazing.
It's like she's like an old DJ that doesn't want to move out of town. Like, I don't know anybody down there. I want to go to that fucking new city. I wanted to stay here with my friends, and now all your friends are dying, and so it's like, go on.
It was the same with my mom.
Yeah,
it was really amazing.
Yeah, but it's actually interesting. We kind of started on this because in January she had an accident. I was up here in January.
Okay.
And I was going to take her to the Philippines for the last time. And she had an accident at the airport, so she couldn't actually make that trip. And that was the first time where I was like, my mom's not going to go anywhere. She doesn't want to go back to the Philippines to live with the relatives. She wants to stay where she is. Right. She's been in Seattle for 55 years almost now. So she doesn't know she doesn't know how to live anywhere else. And so now I'm just kind of like starting to have these conversations. I had one actually with my mom and my son last night. There might be a chance I might be moving back to Seattle at some point soon.
Right.
Right. So, because I'm planning to be here like at least 3 to 4 times a year instead of that once a year trip.
Sure.
Now that's going to be a 3 to 4 time a year trip. I'm thinking about buying a condo like somewhere in Capitol Hill so I can start my city life when I'm here. Because I can't like live with my mom if I'm here for like 2 weeks. I'll just get fat, bro. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I can't, right? Yeah. But at least, like someday maybe they'll finish that light rail. My mom only lives a few blocks from that light rail in Linwood. I can just hop on that and go see her not get fat.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing pretty good. Yeah. I'm at my high school weight now.
There you go. You look good, man.
You look great too.
You hit the 50, man. You got to take care of business. And there's a very. Are you 50 yet? Oh,
I'm gonna be 50 on Wednesday.
That's right. We just talked. Yeah, 50 on Wednesday. Yeah. So I mean, on the one hand, like 50's it's amazing that we're 50. I never thought I was going to live past 25. I mean, we grew up in very similar sets, right?
Yes, yeah, exactly.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But like once I hit 50, I mean, there's just less margin for error, is what I tell people. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's really you're definitely right. I think like my new girlfriend Karen, and I, we were just talking about this like a couple weeks ago. Like, it's like you don't want to play games, you don't want to do the dating thing anymore. Dating that's just I just look at some of my friends who are like in their 30s. I'm like, God, that would suck.
It's exhausting when I watch them.
Yeah, I mean, it's so I got really lucky. I've been lucky for like 20 something years of my life to have like just good solid like partners, right? But anyway, Karen and I were talking about how now it's like there is no margin for error. It's like this is it. I mean, like are we gonna grow together or what? And I'm just kind of like, I mean, fuck. It's like I'm having this kind of conversation now.
I know.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and she got like a fucking piece of mail and was like. She's like, should I join this thing? And I read it, and I read the letterhead, and it was like from the fucking AARP.
Oh, dude, I get hearing aid letters. I don't know how I got on this list, but I got like some casket service, some hearing aid. Like, do you want to reserve your burial plot now before it's too late? I'm just like, what's going on?
We're really inspiring the fucking youth here, aren't we?
We're in it for the music, kids.
Oh man, okay.
Yeah. Well. So it's funny. So I would love to talk just a little bit of history, like because I have known you for a long time. It's interesting. I was thinking about this. I've known you for a long time, way before the music stuff, right?
Yes. Right.
And then there's like in my awareness, there's this big gap where I kind of lost track of you. I know we actually played at some clubs on the same bill before, but you were a little bit you had more success, I think, visually in the city than I did. But like, so when was the first time we met? That was what I was trying to figure out.
So
I think I know, but I'm not totally sure.
So I just remember this. So we kind of did know each other through the music, but it was a different kind of music. And for all of you, who want to know what Phil used to kind of wear when back in the day. Phil would roll around with he looks the same. He'd wear his fucking beefy white t-shirt just to show off his, like his Jason Statham fucking, body, and he'd have overalls, but then he'd have one flap down. And then he had like the black Dickies boots,
the Doc Martens,
the Doc Marten boots or whatever, the steel toe boots.
Yeah, for sure.
And then and that was kind of like your look.
Still wear the same thing.
That was your.
The only thing is I keep the other one up now because it's too confusing with there's one.
Well, I mean, I don't know if you're it wasn't you who like was at power plant that one time and some kid came crying out of the bathroom who had overalls on. And they were like, what happened? And he was like, oh, I have my wallet, my car keys, and like some drugs or whatever. And I undid my overall things and it fell into the porta potty. It was at NAF. That's what it was.
Yeah, it was at NAF. You can't.
But that was you.
You learn with the overalls. You don't put shit in this pocket because when you go to the bathroom,
Oh my God, man. But we met at if I would have to bet. It was in high school.
Yep.
And we met at Charlie Files' house.
I think you're right.
At one of those parties.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's got to be
somewhere around that era, right?
Yeah,
because
and
I think the people we had in common, I think there was like, the Mike Beals and the Tassin and the Khalil, and like there was this convergence of Juanita High School and Lake Washington High School where we were down with
each other, like, and that was like our senior year, right? And by the way, when I was telling that story about where I met John Lee for the first time, Mike Beal was the other guy in the breakdown that stuck with me, who John Lee broke up at the Omni.
The Omni.
Yeah, the Omni.
And for we're dating ourselves, but there was a club in Auburn.
Yes.
That was like a over 16.
Yes, over 16 club, right?
And it was the Omni. It was like my first intro into like dancing and dance music and like techno pop and whatever it was called back then.
Something like that. It
Information Society and all that.
Yeah. It was that kind of stuff. It was like Black Box.
Yeah.
Like CC Peniston, like stuff like that.
Yes.
And actually my first like actual like club experience before the Omni was at a place called Wanda's in Everett. Do you remember Wanda's in Everett?
Dude, I
it was
never
like a
went to
little, like,
Wanda's.
I would go there when I was like 15 or something like that, and I would like had to take the bus somewhere to get because it was like it's kind of in that pocket of Linwood, in between like Everett and Linwood, some weird like pocket, and it was like this like dance club.
Yeah.
And they played like that industrial stuff. And there was all sorts of weird people there, right? You know?
Right.
And then the Omni was the thing. And then it was the Oz.
The Oz. That's right.
Yep. And then obviously Underground.
The Underground
was
18 and up.
Was 18 and up.
Yep.
Yeah. And
That was U District.
That was U District.
Yep.
So yeah, those were like the first like early kind of days.
Yeah, because we were, so if I think back on it, I'm trying to remember. So we were kind of in this whole like convergence of
Right.
UW and Juanita, and we'd all end up at the same house parties. We'd
Yes.
actually all caravan. Sometimes we meet in like
Yeah.
Totem Lake or
Yeah.
Kirkland.
Yep.
And like, God, now as a 50-year-old homeowner, like I think about 35 V-dub rabbits and bugs and Scirocco's showing up to my house while I'm on vacation and my stupid kids having a house party. Can you imagine?
Oh yeah.
It gives me anxiety right now thinking about it.
No, I remember in my junior year, you might have been at the last year of my junior year. My parents went to work in the morning. I skipped school that day, and a couple of my friends helped me like remove like some breakable stuff in my house, and like all the junior, all the whole junior class from Juanita High School, and maybe some like Kent Lake Washington people came over too, and came party to my house from at like 10 o'clock in the morning to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, like 300 kids, and like a house in Kirkland with like a 3-bedroom house, right? I mean, we had the hose from the backyard, like someone like probably Aaron O'Connor that did it. Pull the hose, like she was probably mad at some dude, and she was spraying like the hose in the kitchen. My fucking parents like home at 6 o'clock, and so everyone we kicked everyone out around 3 or 4, and a crew of like 5-10 people helped clean everything up, and that was it. And it was like hush. It wasn't like the parents like left for the weekend. No, the parents left for work, and we had a fat party. But that was fucking cooperation, right?
That's like coordination to party, right? Like
right.
I used to,
and these are high school kids. How fucking did that? How did that happen? Nothing got broken. Nothing got stolen. Nothing. It was.
It's that Gen X work
Yes,
ethic.
exactly. Don't fuck with the Gen X people, right?
Well, because you probably came to my house. My mom. So when my dad passed when I was like 10 or 11, right? And so my mom had to go back to work as a nurse, but she was working nights, and so I used to have what we called 9 to 9ers, and I definitely you came to my house because she would leave for work at 8:30 at night and come back at 9 in the morning. So we could do kind of the same thing.
Yeah, I remember that.
And
stuff.
people could come and just hang out. And I do not know how we pulled that off all the time, but
I don't know.
Just,
I can't imagine like millennials doing that shit.
I just like being, like I said, being a homeowner and thinking about your stupid kid doing something like that. But it happens. So we definitely. Before the music stuff, we're hanging out at the same house parties. Right. We knew a lot of the same people.
Yeah.
And then I think you're right. I think what happened, this is where I'm gapped a little bit. What happened is we all started like Omni, Oz, Underground, and I mean, what drew you into all that?
So like, gosh, we were all kind of going to like those clubs. Like, Flowers. Remember Flowers?
Yes.
Like
one of my favorite
stuff
nights.
Like that.
Donald used to play at Flowers on Wednesdays, right?
And then like the rave scene kind of like spurted off out of all of that stuff. Like that Ballard Firehouse.
Right.
That stuff. Or like stuff at like the train station, and things just started like kind of happening. I think we just kind of like all kind of just gelled into that somehow.
You're right.
Right? But as far as like going back to your point about, well, we used to play. We were on the same bill at some point. Like I remember, like I think you were playing with like Chris Fields and those guys. Yeah, right. Like
with the radio promotions. And all that stuff. Like Chris and Sean. And all that.
Yeah. And then that group kind of like blended a lot with the early Uniting Souls days, right?
Yep, that's right.
And then back then it was like one of those, oh, you're not part of my crew, or you're not going to play for me, and everyone kind of like had their own thing going on, right? Like. You had like like Anthony doing the Showbox, and like Brian Lyons doing like the OK Hotel, right, and then Uniting Souls music, and like you guys would do like I Spy, right, and then everyone was kind of just doing their own thing, and then what happened was, I kind of became more involved in the after hours scene. And that was a completely whole, for a while I was kind of like doing it both.
Right.
But then I just found after a while that the music and the vibe was kind of more congruent in after hours scene with my music than I was in the 10 to 2 part of the night. Right. And I kind of went into that. And then the big gap happened was when I moved from Seattle. Remember, I moved away in 2003.
You went to Miami?
I went to Miami.
Okay.
Right. Went to Miami and I did the music thing there for a couple of years. Then I had my first kid, and I was at the Winter Music. I can remember the moment it was at the Winter Music Conference in 2005. I had like 3 or 4 gigs in the same day. And the promoters kept on moving things around. Like it was just a big shit show.
Totally.
And my first kid at that point was like 5-6 months old, and I was like, "What the fuck am I doing out here? Why is this isn't important to me right now?"
Right.
And that's when I just kind of separated from it all for a while.
Okay.
Right. So that's kind of where that gap of time is, because some people have that same question: What happened to you? What did you do?
Right.
And so so everything, the early days, like the C Sound Lounge, all that stuff, right? The early days of like, or like, what's that? Electric Tea Garden, that place.
Right.
I wasn't here for those times.
Okay.
I was gone. I would watch that stuff on like Friendster or something, or MySpace, right? And then Monkey Loft opened up, and I was like, oh, it looks really cool, and this and that. But all that time, I was still always collecting music, but I wasn't doing anything with it.
You weren't actively playing out.
I wasn't even playing at home.
Okay.
I wasn't even mixing at home. I literally went from like vinyl, maybe like the first version of like CDJs, and then I stopped for a good 9 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
For a good 9 years. Yeah.
I sort of thought, but I wasn't sure. Because, when did you actually first start DJing?
95?
Okay.
96,
and I was like 97.
Like yeah.
You started DJing in 95. Was it the whole rave scene that inspired you to do that?
No, I mean, actually, it was just one of those. I mean, I guess. I mean, what else would it have been? But it was one of those things where I never really had that intention of like, of like, I never had any goals with it. I literally just like got some equipment, got some records, and just started doing the bedroom thing. And I remember back then, God, it took me like 6 months to, match my first beat. I mean, it was like one of those things that I had a Belt Tribe turntable and a Technique, like a JCPenney's Belt Tribe turntable and a Techniques 1200. And it's like, you can't.
You make me feel better about myself, because it took me a long time to figure out how to match beats on vinyl too.
It took a long time. I mean, it's a whole, like, especially when you can only adjust the pitch of one thing,
yeah.
right?
It's even worse,
right? But then it's like, but then it happened, and then it just, and then you're okay. Oh, I can match beats now, and then all of a sudden you're trying to mix everything, meaning you're trying to mix the entire record from beginning to end. It does sound good,
right? So
then back then, records weren't really made for like long like mixes, and then all of a sudden, there's a couple of records that I call, or that not I call, but they're kind of in industry. They're called blueprint. They're called blueprint records.
Okay.
You know what those are? What a blueprint record is? They're a record that that kind of changes the definition of either a genre or the way like songs are made.
Right.
And you probably have this record in your collection. One of them is Halo and Hippies that Hear This Sound.
I definitely have
that one Siesta. It was like that tracky long tribal thing that just goes on and on and on and on and on. And then I think from there, that kind of coincided with the early days of like Chus and Sabalos. And that's when kind of like that whole progressive house, tribal progressive thing,
right,
kind of like became more structured. And then you notice that records became more like, instead of being 6 minute long songs, they were like 9 minutes now. Right.
The nice long
intro,
nice long outro.
Yeah, right.
A little more predictable. Yeah,
I know what predictable. because in like the early 90s, it was like you're doing radio mixes.
Yeah.
Still,
For sure.
right? Yeah. So,
Okay, no, that's helpful. Okay, so fast forward, we go to 2000, like 3, 5. You're in Miami. You're not doing anything.
I'm not doing anything. Yeah. Like, and also too, like the people that I had a pretty good network of people, that I was working with, but all of a sudden within like a year's time, everyone I was working with, like they moved back to New York, they moved to LA. So kind of my personal and professional music network kind of broke down pretty quickly.
Okay.
If that makes any sense. And Miami, it's very, at that time, even more so than Seattle, it was very hard to break into the local scene. I mean, you're going up against Oscar G in space. I mean, knows it. He's going to be, if he wants to play 8 hours, he's going to play 8 hours on that main floor. You're not going to get the opening slot.
Right.
He opens and he closes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you got those established, like really established few DJs, in that town at that time. And the town, I mean, thankfully for the town, and I think that's why Miami has such a good music scene, was they were very loyal to their locals. And I started seeing that in Seattle just from afar when I was gone. Right. Because remember back in our day, it's like, we'd be playing all of a sudden like that. It's like someone bringing the headliner that played at whatever club, and they're like, hey, they're going to play now. And we're like, wait a second. They're not even on the flyer. Remember that? Yeah. Like there was like no respect for anybody. I remember, I hated seeing that I hated seeing like my friends. Thankfully, it didn't happen to me. But I'd see some of my friends who were like up and coming DJs who'd bring like 50 people to the club. But then all of a sudden, another promoter with the headliner, they want to play. And then the promoter of the party that my friend was playing at, who had brought all those people, got kicked off the decks. Right. They didn't do that shit in Miami. Right. And I don't imagine they do that stuff here now. But back when in our time, that was a very regular thing. Yeah. And that really stuck. And I think that was pretty disheartening for like the local DJ sense in the
for
way,
sure.
Right. Yeah.
Like if you have that already, you're nervous and you want to do a good job, and then you have this hanging over your head that somebody might show up and
they do.
Bump you.
and you planned your set. Maybe you went to Platinum and bought like $100 worth of like records, and you got like 6 tracks out of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, right? Yeah, it was definitely a different time and day. But Miami was really tough to crack. I got lucky. I met a few really key people that moved away and ended up doing stuff in other cities. But like I said, it was just a family thing. I kind of like reprioritized my family at that time. And
as you should.
Yeah.
But you weren't producing then though.
Nope.
Okay, so it wasn't like coinciding. It was all DJ stuff to when? Till 2000 whatever.
Till 2005. Yeah, it was just all DJ. I mean, I would try to produce some things, but remember back then, I mean, you were dealing with like Reason, Ableton before you can even export anything out of Ableton. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was like you would make sounds in Reason, and Reason sequencer was crap back then. It was like a graph paper. Remember that?
I couldn't even wrap my head around Reason.
You can wrap it,
I bought it. It was just, I was like, I don't know.
So like my whole workflow was like make the sounds in Reason, export into Pro Tools, because Pro Tools had like a nice like sequencer back then. But still, it was just one of those things where, I didn't know how to finish music back then. And remember back then, it's different than today. I mean, today, like back then, people had their techniques and they had their secrets, and that was their secret sauce. I mean, right? I mean, you weren't encouraged to share knowledge back then. Now it's really key. If you're not sharing any knowledge, you're not getting followers on Instagram. Yep. So it's really easy to find knowledge nowadays. I mean, there's a lot of great knowledge out there. I don't even ask my fucking friends anymore how to make a bass line. I just type in YouTube how to make a house bass line, and and there's a downloaded template for you, and you can just download it and just make it your own. So I think that's a really big key difference. And I think for me, I just didn't have the patience, I want to say. Not the discipline, but the patience to finish music like I do today. Right. Or the knowledge either. Or the knowledge either. Yeah.
So, well, when did you then start producing?
So really, I really started producing probably seriously producing 2018. So just
for some reason I thought it was much longer than that. So 2018.
Nope. Yeah, 2018. Like I finished my first like actual song. Like I was like, wow, I actually can can put this out. This is something that I'm proud of, and I've been working kind of with that same formula ever since. Like I've tried to veer away from a certain structure, because it's I was talking with a really nice gentleman today about, he sent me some tracks, and he said, hey, Terry, I get some feedback about these tracks. I'm not really good at breakdowns. I'm not really good at that stuff. And I listened to his tracks, and I said, yeah, you're right. You don't have any tension. You have really good elements, but you got to build tension in your music, and that's where, and it's really about not like putting a bunch of like 20, 50 different things together and just making this monster wall of sound. It's about using what you have, and I always say the magic happens with the automation. And if you could get really good at automation, you can have only a few elements and make them sound different and build tension and build texture in your music, right? And so when I finally learned to do that, that's when things just kind of started like taking off. I started finishing tracks faster, but I stick with the same basic structure. So if you listen to all of my music, they kind of break down in the same way, they build up in the same way, they drop in the same way. And part of me is like, thinking that maybe I gotta do something new or whatnot. But yeah, at the same time, I'm like, it's nowadays it's when you produce, it's about speed, about how long you get something out.
Right.
Because there's some, like right now I'm really struggling with a project, and it's coming to the point where I like it. I know it's not my best work, but I like it. I'm gonna put it out, but I'm struggling to get to that, like to get it over the hump.
Okay.
And sometimes that's the danger with some of these, with sticking to the same thing that you do, is that it works, but at the same time too, it can backfire in the sense that you can kind of get sick of it in a way, right?
Got it.
Right. Quickly,
And then you start to ask yourself, am I holding myself back by saying with this technique, this formula, sound, whatever, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's that's the thing, right? There's so much we have there's so much stuff. I think like one of the biggest challenges today about being both a DJ and a producer is that there's too much to do, as far as, okay, if you spend time learning, okay, everything's all about opportunity cost. The concept in economics, opportunity cost. If you're not doing something, or if you're doing something, you're not doing another thing. And is the cost of what you're currently doing greater than the cost of what you're not doing? And should you be doing that? So when you have a limited amount of time in the day, us 50-year-olds fucking do. Right. Whether you have dogs, kids, full-time job or whatever.
Yep.
You only have so much time for music.
Yep.
What does that involve? Does that involve you spending all that time making music? Does that involve also some of that time? So in that time, if you divide up that time, you're making music and you're learning about how to produce music. And then not only that, you have to promote your music, right? And that right there, and I find that some of the biggest challenges today as a producer is fucking spending the time promoting your music.
I know.
Instead of just making the fucking music, right?
Yep.
And yeah.
Well, and then that's not even prepping for your gigs and maybe even hustling for gigs or trying to work out calendars and those logistics, right?
Yeah. I mean, exactly. Yeah. And so, so like, okay, so speaking of the whole, opportunity cost, last year was just, as a DJ, having a good problem of having so many gigs that you can't get back in the studio. And I personally find that I'm just coming at the point in my life where I'm happiest making music.
Okay.
But it's also a struggle at the same time when you're not getting the result that you need, because there's something, you have to spend time learning something to get you over a hump, but then you're not spending time promoting your fucking music that you just released, right?
Right.
And that takes work. You gotta, socializing music, you gotta make posts about it, you gotta think about what you're gonna say, you gotta share your music with your friends. I mean, like I said, these are all good problems to have, I just wish I had a doppelganger to fucking help me with my problems.
No, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what was it that clicked in 2018 that
Okay.
got you into producing in the first place, right? Because I mean, like me, I never went down that road, and I started DJing just a couple years after you.
Yeah.
But like 20 years later, you after DJing, all of a sudden you decide to produce.
I mean, I think really it was, I think a big part of it was Jason Takeda.
Yeah.
He was, I was going through like my my divorce and my separation at that time, from mom of my kids, who's a great person and great mother and love her to death. We're still friends to this day.
That's great.
But Jason was really supportive at that time with me and all that. And he was like, and this was around the time like Noble died.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And,
That's right.
and Jason would tell me stories like, there's people that are actually like mad at you that you're not DJing anymore, or like you're not like, I'm like, what, and then I think like Noble like kind of like passing away, it had a really big impact on me because it's like you have your friends that you always kind of like, yeah, one day we're gonna do this and one day we're gonna do that, and you have all these dreams together, right? And I think a big part of it was I didn't want to let those dreams like die.
Yeah.
Right? Like people like, Noble, like there's Donald who like kind of, I think me and Donald talked about this like a couple weeks ago. Actually a couple months ago after his birthday, in December, about like how, we had like people, like 20 people in the house all from San Diego, didn't really know our history. And we're sharing our history. And I tell them, well, Donald really taught us DJs how to, in Seattle, kind of how to be dominant behind the decks, like have a really dominant like stage presence. Not like Donald, not
Right.
throwing your hands up in here and this and that,
Yelling at
but you
people.
got to have something,
Yeah.
because back then it's like Donald was such a force of nature, and he still is,
Such a force, man.
and like people they didn't want to open for him, they didn't want to follow him, so you really had to think about what you're gonna do. And I think as a collective, out of everywhere I've been in the world, not like I'm a fucking globe-trotting Jamie Jones, but I think that Seattle DJs probably are, as a group, are probably some of the best groups is probably some of the best DJs in the world as a group.
Yeah.
Right. Like, because Donald, you couldn't fuck up. Right. And so, and you're talking about guys like, like us, or guys that learned how to DJ back when he was around here.
Yeah.
Right. And you had to have something about who you were behind the decks that wasn't him, but that was good enough to keep people's attention.
Right.
Right? I mean, I've been like, look, 20% of my gigs back then that I got was because Donald didn't make it to the gig, and I had my records in my car. And I remember this one time at Contour, Donald was supposed to play, and I can't remember who was promoting the show, but Donald was stuck at the border somewhere, couldn't make it or something like that. So I got my records in the car because the promoter was like, "Terry, you got your records?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so I got my records in the car, and and some kid was front center. What the fuck is this? This isn't Donald Glaw. What the fuck?
No.
Like yelling.
Yeah.
Like in like full club, Contour back then, it was like packed, right?
Yep.
Who the fuck is this? What the fuck, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm trying to fucking mix my first record and this and that. He's still yelling. He gets closer. Fuck this. I came here to see Don. What the fuck? And then by the third record, there was silence. And then by the third record, I looked and he's looking at me like, "Oh yeah."
Oh, okay.
Like that, right?
All right.
Right? And he was okay, but that was kind of like, you had to like kind of like bring it.
You
had
were in
to
the trenches, man.
You had to bring it, And then obviously Wesley, Wesley was, as one of my early mentors, he taught me about just keeping shit simple, and being perfect with your mixing, right? Like, you don't got to do all this scratchy shit or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You can still like rock the crowd by being perfect with your mixing. But Noble, though, he really was the one that really taught me how to tell the story with your music. Right? So I always, like, whether I'm playing a DJ set or making music, I always think about, like, you got to tell that story. And Noble, I'm sorry, I maintain a SoundCloud page. I raise money for it every year, and like the community here always like gives $5, $10 or whatever to pay for a SoundCloud page. Kind of feel kind of responsible for keeping his like music alive, just through that small way. And it's really funny because, not funny, but I know that Noble, like, just being with him so much, he always has CD for something, some event. Like if he got together with a girl, you know, he'd like make a CD for her, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, you know, he's with a new girlfriend because he made this CD. Now everybody has it. And you know, Noble didn't really talk a lot, so everyone knew how he felt through the CDs.
Wow.
And conversely, when he'd break up with some girl, he'd make a fucking CD, wouldn't give it to the girl, but like would give it to everybody else, and you knew what the story was behind those CDs. So he made these personal CDs for a lot of different people. A lot of them weren't really widely circulated.
Okay.
Right? And so randomly, like maybe once a year, someone will hit me up and say, hey, I found the CD from Noble, and it'd be just for them. Right? And it'd be this gem of a story that he made just for that person. Yeah. And I put those up on a SoundCloud page. When I digitize them, make sure,
cool.
You know, a lot of them are scratched up and I have to like fix them and stuff. But yeah, so he really taught me how to tell the stories. And so going back to he and I just spending a lot of time together and what I do with my music now, a lot of it's because just to keep his spirit alive and just to kind of keep those promises that we made to each other. Like, this is what we're going to do someday, and we're going to do this. And, you know, and slowly and surely enough, those things are coming to fruition.
Wow.
Right? You know?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If it's too complex to talk about, but I'd really love to understand, like, when you say tell a story with your sets or with your music, or how Noble did it, like, can you describe that a little bit?
Yeah.
Like, what are you thinking about? What's the process?
Well, I think a big part of it is playing some music that people know you by, right? Like I'll play people, like the other night in San Diego at a party, I was playing a song, and the girl was like, God, you always play this song, but here she is grooving to it.
Of course.
You know, she's not like, you always fucking play this song. She's like, you always play it, but she's grooving to it, have a good time and all that stuff. I think that's part of it is building an identity with your sound, right? There's some guys that like, and you know, and that's okay. And there's some people that just every gig they'll go to Beatport, they'll download 20 new songs and they'll just play that, and that's their set. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they do, and they do it well. Me, I'll play the same shit. Depending on what I'm playing. Like, I'm not gonna play the same song every set. But if I play like a deep house set, you will probably hear me play a song I've been playing for 5-6 years during a deep house type of set.
Got it.
So I think really creating your identity through music by playing things that people know you by, right? And then obviously finding music that's congruent with who you are. And then when you tell that story, it's all about, I mean, I know it's cliche, it's about, you know, it's about the vibe and this and that, or it's about how you feel, but it's really a combination of what's going on in that moment, you know?
Yeah.
What's the story of the moment now?
Right.
Not what's my story, not what's my girlfriend's story, or the person I broke up with, or the person I danced for. What is our story, right now in this moment, you know? And what can we all capture together as, you know, as a DJ, as someone on a dance floor? What can we make this a moment about? And how can we like make a memory together that's going to haunt us for the rest of our lives, right? That's what that is all about. And you know, yeah.
No, that's so cool. It's there. So a couple things. I think when you're talking about that, I started to think maybe some of this comes from the vinyl days, right? Yeah. Because A, the shit was expensive, you know, and B, you know, we were up at Platinum every Tuesday or whatever the new stuff came in, and you would find those signature records.
Yeah.
Like I remember, because I would break into a little bit of Latin, you know, when I was playing vinyl a lot, right? And I always had that Afro Medusa, right? Like that was like one of my sort of signature. I'm gonna throw this, but it's time, you know. But maybe it's a little bit of a hangover from the vinyl days, but it really I do appreciate the depth that you went into, because I think also a lot of people who DJing is more accessible now, which is great.
Yeah, right.
And producing is more accessible, which is great. But I also feel like maybe some of the emphasis on the music and why the music maybe is lost a little bit. Like,
Oh yeah.
and I just feel like in general, maybe I always say this and it almost sounds like prickish, but like, I don't really want to deal with you if you don't love the music. Like, if you're not doing
Right.
this because you like, we are music lovers. We were music lovers before house music,
Right.
right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
hip hop, whatever,
Yeah.
like new wave or whatever was the thing. You fall in that same crew that I knew guys from your school. I think Bernie. You remember
Yeah,
Bernie?
Bernie, yeah, Bernie Bell, yeah.
I
yeah.
remember he wouldn't eat lunch so he could
Yeah.
buy the new Tribe CD.
Yeah,
like that's a music lover, dude. Like,
yeah, that was how I was. How was when I was
same.
when I started buying records. It's like I was on that tuna and rice diet. I mean,
I'm telling you.
fuck it, I wouldn't pay bills. I'd have like $1,000 power bill. I just fucking get out of platinum.
same.
I mean, and you want to know what? I mean, it's like, and speaking about like, when you'd be down there on Tuesday, hey, I was the guy when I found a song that I really liked. I didn't want anybody else in the city to have it, so I'd go to every record shop and I'd buy it. I'd fucking buy it if I saw it again. Like
You were the guy.
I would buy it, And I remember this one time it was hilarious. I had this girlfriend. She was mad at me, and I was at work, and she, we got in some argument on the phone, and she was like, "If you don't come home now, I'm gonna scratch your Raw Soul True Science record, right? You know that record, right?
Yeah.
Like that one on Leaf, that like everybody wanted for like a while, right?
Yep.
And she was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't. She thought I was gonna run home from work and just clock out and run home from fucking Macy's or the Bon Marché downtown or whatever it was called. I didn't come home until after my shift and open my door, and there she was with my Russell record with a key. I'm gonna fuck you, blah blah. I'm gonna scratch this if you don't say you're sorry or something like that. And then she was expecting me to react, and I'm just like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. She's like, she looks at me and then she kind of like, relaxed, like, what do you mean? And I'm like, and I go to my record fucking shelf and I had 5 copies of that shit. Go and scratch. I got 5 fucking copies. You
bought them all.
I bought them all and all. But I mean, that I think that's very emblematic now of what. I'm sorry, that was very emblematic of what was going on back then. When I went back to the, hey, when you had your secrets, you had your secrets. And if you're really a greedy motherfucker with your records, you buy a white label and put that shit on a fucking Moody record and like write some other shit, like you call it something else. Some people train spotting it. They're like, oh, it's that. And you're just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, now it's like there's so much music, but there's a lot of good music out there, which I really love. Like, I know that I think the worst part was going to like Platinum and like listening 3 hours to a stack of records and thinking you're going to spend your whole paycheck on 5 records, but it didn't happen. That's the worst.
That's the worst.
Now you can find very easily a lot of stuff, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's almost overwhelming sometimes. I was telling you earlier when you first got here, like one of my favorite things, you just run whatever, somebody's top 100 playlist or somebody's charts or whatever. And when I'm working, doing super boring shit, and I know Paul does this too. Like we're very habitual about this. And one of my favorite things is I'll stop what I'm doing and say, oh, I need this track. And then I see, oh, it's Terry's track. Fuck yeah, I love it. Buy, but there is that moment where I wish I could buy it all so like somebody else can't grab it. But it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
I'm sure you'd appreciate it if I bought 10 copies.
Well, I mean, Wesley always says, hey, you got that #1 track because I bought 30 of them. It's like, it doesn't work that way.
Unfortunately.
Unless you had 30 different usernames on track source, right?
Like, I remember I sent you that video when when I was playing that set on Woodby Island. I do the thing out on the bathroom. You'll have to come up sometime, and it's beautiful. It's fun to DJ out there on my patio. But I played that track, and I didn't even realize it was your track till I rewatched the video, and I was like, what track is this? My wife comes and gives me a kiss, and that was literally one of your tracks. And then I had sent you the little clip of the video. That was,
I remember that. It's
pretty amazing. Yeah. Like, but that was like total surprise. That was not planned. It just happened to be this moment with my wife. And it just happened to be your track playing that I had dropped in that I wasn't even paying attention. It's so cool. Like, I just love those like synchronous moments that happen with my friends' music. So
yeah, I mean that's thank you for that. By the way, that definitely means a lot. And like, I sometimes as an artist, it's like we always have this like the specter of imposter syndrome.
Oh, for sure.
And being getting all the gray. It gets even worse, right? Like it gets like you got like 3 imposters now, right?
Yep.
Right, like on your shoulder. And so it's like it's really interesting. Whenever I start feeling that way, I've learned to like push through it. But what really helps is that I'll get that way, I'll feel that way, and all of a sudden some random person from somewhere around the world will like start following my Instagram profile, and they'll say, hey, this track I did I played it last night, and everyone on the dance floor loved it. Or someone will say, I fucking made a baby to this track. And
totally.
I mean, just random stuff like that, and from people that you've never met before.
Yep.
And that's what makes it all worth it right there. You just never know like who your music's gonna touch, or in what way. And I'd be like, that's not my favorite fucking song.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
no,
it's
that's
nice.
really cool. That's got to be. I think that's that's the one thing I think with I never got into the production side, but I could see that being super impactful because I mean I look at you guys and my guess is like you're sitting, you're whatever your job is during the day, but then you're literally clocking 4 hours a night in front of a computer screen making tracks, making beats, like and it's a lot of isolation and it's a lot of work, and you're in your own vacuum, and there's only so much feedback you can get from, your peers along the way. So it must be super cool to just randomly hear from somebody to tell you that stuff.
I mean, so those random 4-hour nights where you're just tracking away, I wish that was the truth.
Oh, really?
That's actually very, very rare. And I think for me, it's like my process. I always tell people this, that who want to produce music. They're like, I don't have the 3 hours to do it. I don't have the 3 days a week, the 3 hours of time to do it. I'm like, you know what? Even if you do it, and this is my thing, even if you do it for 30 minutes,
okay,
or 15 minutes, or a half an hour, every little thing always adds up to something bigger, right? And so for my process, it's all about like kind of. I spend the most time collecting what I want to put into a track, right? And I'm not like a Rodriguez Jr. I can just make shit out in the air and just fucking. I mean, I wish I was, but I'm not that guy, But my thing has always been harmonizing sounds,
okay,
right? Things that are not even like in the same key frame or whatever, but they sound good together, and that's okay, right? I'm kind of like the no rules type of person when I make music, but that can also kind of be frustrating. And then that's kind of what I call the loop phase, where you're just collecting things, or you're making some stuff, and you're finding sounds to kind of put together. Does this work together? And you're kind of experimenting with some effects on the tracks or the samples that you have, or whatever MIDI riff you made, and then you get something to sound really good, and you're building a groove. The scariest part about producing music is you're getting this groove, you feel really great about it, you spent like a few days making this groove, but then you have to take it apart to make it into a song. And then sometimes and it's like with this one project, I got the groove going. Oh fuck, this is gonna be great. I can make 3 fucking songs out of this one. Then I took it apart to where you have to like have the kick drum start first, and then the hi-hat comes, and the clap, and then whatever. You have to build a song out of it, and it just doesn't sound the same, right? And then that's the most challenging part of making music for me, is taking the song out of that, what I call the loop phase, where you're just playing a groove, and you could like even be spending an hour just listening to it, thinking, oh yeah, this is great, what am I gonna do next? And then your next session you think you're gonna do something, you don't, and then it just kind of stays in that. And that's, I think a lot of producers kind of get stuck there. They get stuck there, right? And so, sorry. And so you have to like, once you get out of that phase, and then you have to make the hook, the breakdown.
Okay.
Right. And that's where tracks die.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's where a lot of tracks die. Because that I think as a producer, that's the hardest part of the song to make is the hook.
Okay.
Because you can like, if you could imagine like all the records that you like some of your favorite songs, you got the groove that's just kind of getting you into the song, but then what's gonna keep you listening to the song, right? And that's why nowadays it's like the big drop is synonymous to things, and now Now even deep house has like a big drop, you know?
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I can't remember what the original thing we're talking about was, but what I'm saying is that whole process.
No,
you know,
I mean, it's all in line with what I was asking. It's well, first of all, you kind of demystified it a little bit for me, which was, you know, my assumption was always you guys are sitting grinding.
That's okay. The point, okay, that was right. When I spend 4 hours is when I have that breakthrough. And when I have that breakthrough, that's when I could stay in the studio from like 9 o'clock at night to 7 in the morning.
Rush. That's like you're in the pocket.
I'm in the pocket there.
Jeez. Almost got.
Okay.
There's only a few electronics around here.
Okay. I didn't do it.
I got excited.
No, but that was the point though. It's very, very, for me, it's very seldom that I spend 4 hours or more, even more than 2 hours to in my production. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. And I find that if I'm not in that groove, I can't spend more than an hour or two. I just can't do it.
You're systematically inspiring me and making me feel like a total half-ass because I was like, I just don't have that kind of time.
No, you do. You do. I mean, you can make the time.
It's killing me now.
You know?
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. And then when you get into that groove, nothing else fucking matters.
Yeah,
like
man.
I won't even eat. You know, and that's when I finish the track, or at least get it to like where I'm pretty much done, and all I'm gonna need to do is do some tweaks, and then it's done. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's fascinating actually. And you know, truth is like everybody's process is different. I was talking to John, his process is a little bit different and yeah, so that's cool to know. Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting, man.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with that, like, so you know, going back to San Diego for a second, what I've and maybe this is just my perception because I pay more attention now, but it seems like, you know, you said you started producing in 2018. I figured you'd been doing it much longer, but it just seems like you've been busier than ever, both producing and DJing, right? Is that just perception or is that actually going on? You're busy doing this stuff now. Well,
like I said, you know, it all goes back to what we do with our time and the opportunity cost of what we do with our time. I think I did a lot of production during COVID year because we were doing events. I mean, I was doing the Dance Classique Wednesday live stream because we just wanted to keep the whole Wednesday thing going. And then there was undergrounds and break-ins that we would do and get shit for. Oh God, you guys are super spreaders and blah, blah, blah.
You're killing grandma.
You're killing people, you know, and all that stuff and very polarizing stuff. But you know, it's like, dude, when you're passionate about something, you're gonna find a fucking way to do it.
I know.
You know, and you're not gonna care. I mean, what it is, you're gonna find a way to do it. And I think last year was in the last like 4 years, we'll call it 5 years now of producing music. I think last year was probably my slowest since my first year as far as producing tracks because of all the events I was doing.
I see. Okay.
Because it was like COVID, so COVID's done. Our shutdown's down. Now it's like everyone wants to do stuff.
Right.
Everyone wants to do events, and San Diego just kind of blew up, and then all these crews that you're hanging with during COVID year, now these party crews, you know, they're doing stuff, and everyone's doing stuff, and it was one of those years where I was like, God, I wish I was just back in the studio again. And so 2023, this year, I really had just kind of made an agreement to myself going, you know, I'm just going to do my weekly.
Okay.
And do a couple of one-offs here and really just try to focus on producing music. Because that's just kind of I'm just at the point in my life where that's what I kind of want to just keep doing. And that's where I'm happiest, right? Is that.
So not playing out now. It's producing music. Like if you have to choose one or the other, producing is more important to you, or kind of has. The emphasis.
Think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think so. I mean, it's kind of like because what I've discovered is DJing is when I talked about it just a second ago. DJing is very in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas making music that's an imprint that's going to last forever. Whether it's in your mixes or whether it's you playing my song, like, you know, on a sunset on your roof in Woodbury Island, or whether it's someone from around the world making babies, or, you know, or some, you know, or some, you know, producer. I mean, my dream, like, remember back in the day for DJs, the holy grail of being a DJ was having your own Global Underground CD.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Now the holy grail is having a circle or boiler room video.
Right.
But as a producer, the holy grail is having your song being played by like a Hernan Cataneo.
Okay.
And like 20,000 people around the world all of a sudden one day just
Track
says,
ID,
what is
please."
that? And go to the track source and you're getting the royalties, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm like. That's my holy grail now, is like turning on Boiler Room or Circle and seeing like a Maceo Plex play one of my songs. I don't have to be the guy DJing it, but if I could, have my music being played by someone like that,
Wow.
all
Okay.
the time, and people listening to it and like figuring out whose song that is, and then they're buying other shit from your catalog. That's what I'm trying to get to,
Got it.
and that's hard to do.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's hard to do. It's hard to do. I like, don't get me wrong. I'll always be a DJ first. And
Sure.
I fucking love DJing. I really love it.
Yeah.
I really love it. But for me, like I said, there's just something else that I'm looking for, and I just explained that to you. Yeah.
It's funny because I was just reading, I'm not going to name any names. I just saw a post on Facebook. We're all connected with
Yeah.
a bunch of the same
Yeah.
people, and they were saying people don't even understand how many parties I played in the 90s and how many events I threw and how many raves I was and how many and like the mean guy in me, right? I don't do this on Facebook anymore
Yeah.
because it's not worth
Yeah.
it's not worth the
You're
energy.
right,
but I was like,
right.
what are you doing now? Because that's
correct.
that shit doesn't matter. And what I'm getting at is the way you've been able to traverse this, and like I said, John, same thing.
Yeah.
Like embracing social media, using it to your advantage, but
Yeah.
not in a nefarious way. You guys
Yeah.
are just using it to expose
Yeah.
your awesome production, to get it to the people all over the world. And that really wasn't available back when it was vinyl.
No.
They just didn't have that reach that it does now. And I feel like you guys have done a really good job. You've done a good job with that and just getting it out there.
It's not easy, man.
No,
I
dude.
mean, it's really. I mean, sometimes it's like, I've sometimes like, should I like put a cat in my music? And like, because whenever I mention a fucking cat, there's like 500 likes. But when you mention like, oh, your track's number 10 on Track Source, you get 5 likes. Maybe we should call it Cat Source or something, right? Or I don't, something like that. I mean, there's the whole social media thing. It really, it's kind of puzzling to me. I was talking to my good friend and partner DJ Ideal Tomas,
Okay.
who's in San Diego, who's one of the hardest working people in this industry. I think. He's like a machine, man. I mean, I just don't understand where he finds the time or whatever. But he does a lot of stuff. I mean, he does a lot of big shit. All over the country.
Yeah.
And he's a little bit younger than us, right? We had this conversation like, God, he was like, with all the stuff that I do, I mean him, and he says to me, with all the stuff you do, why aren't people talking about us? Like, what is going on there? Like how come you've had several number ones, a lot of stuff you do, charts, and I get that there's all the math behind that. I mean, but it's like, and we're doing all this stuff, and we're we're not like like a leper colony here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's like we have good things going on, but why aren't people talking about that? And so for me, being where I am now, and this is where the imposter syndrome kind of starts to make it challenging, is do you have what it takes to do this another 5-10 years?
Yeah.
You're gonna be fucking 60 at that time, right? Are the TikTok kids gonna like you? You know what I'm saying? It's like, it sucks that it's come to that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think Marshall Jefferson, I think it was DJ Pierre or Marshall. I want to say it's DJ Pierre. He was saying something about this recently. You got to dig up one of his posts. It was the post said, "What happened to the DJ?" And the post was one of those Instagram carousel reels where he wrote something. Each picture had like a couple paragraphs, and you scroll through it, and it was a very poignant thing about the topic. It's like, what happened to the DJ? Like there's, I know for a fact, and it happens a lot in San Diego. San Diego's kind of become this. It went from a sleepy town to now everything is going on there. I mean, you got Insomniac doing stuff there. You got Cross doing stuff there. I mean, just big players in this industry are just doing stuff at the big clubs, but they book stuff based on algorithm, right?
Right.
I mean, that's okay. It used to be like, hey, who are your friends? It used to be, it's all who you know, but now it's all about how do you fit into the algorithm?
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of, to me, that's just like, I don't know. I cannot do, and that, it makes me I struggle with that. Do I make music to fit the algorithm?
Right.
Or do I make music that I just fucking love and that I know has a place out there in the world? And I still am going to choose to make the music that I love for the place where it belongs in the world, because I know that my music, your music, it belongs somewhere. So now what's the fucking algorithm for where it belongs?
Right.
And that's what I'm trying to like unlock right now with all of this.
Interesting.
You know, and I talk whenever I'm at a party or and someone's like, "Oh, I'm a marketing manager, or I'm a social media this or such," and I try to like pick their brain a little bit about things, you know, right? Because that's really where the challenge is now. As an old school artist, I can be a bitter fucking motherfucker. Oh no,
totally.
You know, like I'm not gonna do it. I'm just a vinyl DJ and I'm gonna rust with my vinyl. I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, you're old, whether you're a young person or an older person, and this, you're always gonna have to keep reinventing yourself.
For sure.
You know, right? And not see like, and I'm really inspired by like what the younger kids are doing, because it challenges me to, what do I need to do to kind of reinvent myself?
Yeah.
But what does that reinvention mean? Does it mean compromising your authenticity? Which really sucks. And I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to do that. So that's kind of my big like gray area. How am I going to figure this out type of like thing?
Well, you talked a little bit about it, but I mean, let's say you do figure it out, or you're figuring it out along the way. Like, is that big goal? Is that big bold goal for your future? Is it having the Macioplex or whoever playing your track? Is it being booked for Defected Croatia? Is it like, what are, you got any like big goals that are back in Terry's secret? What does Oprah call it? The dream board or whatever she does.
Yeah, to have my own circle video. You know, like right.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, that's really really for me, that's something I think I'm kind of trying to define right now.
Yeah.
I'm really trying to find that right now. And you know, a friend of mine recently, she said something really important. And I think it's really important that for producers, newer producers to understand this. Make music for where you want to play. And you will get there. Right? The thing is about me and the music that I make is that it doesn't really fit anywhere. Like I can honestly say that if I put out a techno track, it's not really a techno track.
Right.
It's just kind of categorized into it because it's the thing it sounds like the most. Right? You know, like there's always like a hint of progressive in my stuff, but it's not progressive house.
Right.
Right? So the challenging thing for me is now it's like, do I start my own label and I literally like a few months ago bought the domain name for my future label, but I also understand how much work that is.
For sure.
So now it's like, because having a label, it is like a small business.
Oh yeah.
Right. And fortunately I have some resources and some guidance down in San Diego to help me kind of springboard that. But then it goes back into the opportunity cost of the limited amount of time. If you're not DJing, you're not producing music, now you're working on this record label, you're not doing any of the other things. And you still have to promote your music.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, it's just I need like fucking Bitcoin to go up to like $10 million and I can just do this shit for the rest of my life and shit my pants in my fucking studio chair and just make music. And
but I mean, you say that, but I do think because of the labels that have picked you up that I mentioned in the beginning, the people you've played with, which I know is just a sliver of who you've played with. Yeah. I think it is because your sound, it's hard to define are you tech house or whatever, like, and it depends on the track too.
Right.
But I think you slide in nicely to these different scenes, and people don't even know it before it's too late.
You see that, and you want to, and that's the effect that I want. But in a world of algorithm, how do you market that?
Right.
Right? You know, like
I'm like a chameleon. Yeah.
You know, literally, it's kind of like global fucking warming, right? You know it's out there, it's a problem, but no one wants to pay for the fucking solution. You know what I'm saying? You know it's gonna happen. Like literally, it's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like it's in that weird thing. So I'm really that's one of my. If you were gonna ask me that piece of paper, what's your challenge right now? That's the challenge.
Yeah.
It's like, like I've actually I have a lot of stuff that I haven't released.
Yeah.
Because I've been aiming it towards like bigger labels, but it doesn't fit quite there.
Right.
And I'm trying to find the big labels right now where my music fits. And there's so many fucking labels out there. I mean, there's just like,
Yeah.
I mean, you can spend a whole night doing research on what label send your music to, but then that's the night you're not producing music.
Sure.
Right? It's like, so
Well, is there a fear that, like, let's say a big label picks you up, but they're like, yeah, but he's inconsistent because one time he'll make this more progressive track and then he'll make this more deep track, and we just don't know like where he falls. Is that the worry?
Well, I'll tell you what. The worry is this. I recently made a track that, and I'm not going to say what label it was because I'm actually friends with this person on Facebook, the label owner, and going back to Noble.
Yeah.
Right. It was a label that we both loved. You probably know what it is.
I could guess probably out of 5.
And we loved back then. It was just, it was kind of like we were the guys playing the sound from that label, right? Like in Seattle. And this label recently had like a renaissance. It kind of died off for a while. It was big in the early 2000s, and it's kind of like disappeared. Then it had this renaissance.
Right.
And I purposely made something for this label, and it was the first time. It was and after all these years, I did a remix for somebody and was published, and I did a remix for someone on Denied Music like a couple years ago, and this person that I did the remix for, I don't know who he was. He happened to be personal friends with the label owner of this label that I just love and absolutely adore.
Okay.
Right. And I built a personal connection with him through like the label's Facebook page. Really nice. I mean, like as genuine as the music as they put out on their label. And
got it.
And I recently made something specifically for that label, and it was the first time I had made something specifically for a label that was specific to my sound.
Okay.
And I thought for sure they're gonna pick it up because it felt like,
because you shaped it.
I shaped it.
Yeah.
And it felt like what the label is, or what it used to be, or what I remember it was, right? And I thought for sure, I was fucking feeling it in my bones. When I was in the Philippines, I made this track, and I'm gonna fucking play tonight too.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I was feeling it in my bones, and the guy's now label partner didn't like it for the label, and I was absolutely fucking crushed.
Wow.
When that happened, I thought, because it was one of those things where I thought for sure, like
Yeah.
100%. I mean, like literally, I was in tears thinking that it was gonna get signed.
Right.
Just because the stars were aligning for it. It was a track that came together so easily. It has a story. It has a background. I've been a fan of this label for fucking 25 years. I've got like a stack of this many of their fucking records.
Yep.
Right? I'm in this Facebook group. Have a personal connection. Did a remix for this fucking guy's friend. Right?
Right.
So I thought for sure it was gonna happen, and it didn't happen. And I have not shopped that track to any other label. And it's just sitting in my thing, and I don't know what to do. I mean, I know eventually, I always have faith that, you know what, your music's gonna end up where it belongs.
Right.
It's gonna end up somewhere. I mean, it's gonna end up somewhere. But that was a fucking crushing thing. Wow. Yeah. That was really like, man, that was a crusher right there.
Well, I was going to ask you about
Yeah.
that too, because I didn't know if the level of rejection, if it still hits you, and B, does it hit you hard when your music's not picked up by a label, or is it just when you have that intention that is so targeted?
See, that's a really good question, because that's such a really good question, because, when you send out your stuff, I mean, labels, number one, you got to respect them because they're getting like tons of fucking music.
Sure.
I mean, like, and then the good thing about that is the more music you send out, the more you find out who listens to your music. And then you start building a personal connection with that person, even though they're rejecting your music, right?
Yeah.
And if you're lucky enough, they'll give you feedback. Most of them don't, though. Most of them don't. But there's a couple labels out there where I'm really close. I'm really close. A lot of these big labels, and they have guys that they actually respond. But that's like maybe like 5% of labels you send your music to.
Okay.
Sometimes they don't listen. Most time they don't listen to it.
Sure.
Sometimes they do, but you never hear from them. But they listen to so much stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And so like I never send my music on a Friday night. I never send it on a Monday morning. I always send it in the middle of the week. I always find out where the label is headquartered, and I time my email so that they get it like first thing in the morning when they have the best energy, not when they're pissed off and they want to go home or whatever. Then you have labels like Glasgow Underground who have people that actually, there's like an army of people that just listen to shit, to demos. Like,
wow.
Like the fact that it has like labels or people, A&Rs that like there's 10 of them that just listen to stuff. That's just their job. And then they give it to like, they give it to the final decision maker. It has to go up a chain. But most of the music that I put out, I've had a personal connection somehow to that label.
Okay.
Right. And that's always helpful.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that's really, as far as the rejection thing is, it's that for that one label I was mentioning, that was tough.
Yeah.
But for other labels, no, it's not, because I know it's a business. And even with that label I was mentioning, I know it's a business too. I mean, there's only so many tracks a label can put out each year.
Yeah.
Depending on the budget of the label, depending on how big it is, obviously. Right. Some labels only put out tracks once a month. That's all they can afford, because there's so much that goes into marketing the music, making them, doing radio stuff, promoting it, doing artwork. I mean, there's only so much budget that labels have. So, I definitely don't take it personally, or at least I try not to take it personally. Yeah.
And you maybe a dumb question, but when you come up with a track, right? A Terry Jasinto track, do you send it out to like 5 or 10 different labels, and just and kind of rattle the cage, see who comes back?
Yeah, I mean, it's all about like, so I have a list of labels, right? That I shop, or that I know their sound, or that I have artists I buy music from that are on those labels.
Okay.
Right. And then I just have a list of like maybe like 50, 60 labels, right? Of labels. And then there's top tier ones, mid tier ones, whatnot. Like I said, it all depends on the track, and it all depends on the intention, and some tracks I'll be like, you know what? It's good for this label. It's a local label, and I don't even go down the list. Right. I don't even, because I know it's just going to be good for that label.
It'll work for that.
It'll work for that label. Or obviously, when you do remixes, you have to do it for that label that does remix. But then those mix stuff that you make and you hope it gets to a certain thing, and you just go down the list and then you send it out. There's a good website called Label Based. I think it's labelbased.net, and labelbased.net has like a database of, I don't know, 7,000, 8,000 labels, like all whatever genre. You can like filter what genre you like, and then it'll have like a list of labels, and you can sort it by SoundCloud followers, Facebook followers, like stuff like that, and what genre they have, and then they'll have the contact for the A&R person, like the email you can send it to, right? And so or you got to go to the label's website and see how they want the demos to be sent. Sometimes you upload it through their demo portal. There's all these different ways to submit stuff to labels, but there's like I said, you find out through that process who actually listens to your stuff,
right?
But
it's much. Well, what I'm learning is it's a lot more, or it can be a lot more thoughtful process and a lot more targeted than I had assumed before, and it's also, frankly, it sounds like it's a lot harder than I would have assumed. If you're a producer that's putting out tracks that are hitting number 1 or top 10 on Beatport, you would think, me being a little ignorant to the process, would think, well, shit, I put another track out, like these guys are gonna listen to it and probably pick it up right away. But it doesn't necessarily go down like that.
It doesn't go down like that. It definitely doesn't go down like that. So it's I mean, if you imagine walking into a record store, right? Imagine walking into a record store and your email box is full of all those songs on a SoundCloud links.
Yeah.
Like, how are you going to pick from that?
Yeah.
I mean, are you even going to get through that as an A&R person for a record label? Are you being able to get through that? And then the next week you get the same amount of emails.
Yeah.
It's so the process is, I think what's happening now with a lot of these labels, and I hear this from a lot of people who are close to people that are, big owners of these labels. It's now just kind of in this pocket of, do I know this person personally?
Yeah.
Do I have a personal connection with that?
Interesting.
Right. And so here's the thing, going back to the opportunity cost of how much time you spend with your music, do you spend time making the music, DJing, or networking to the label, or people that know the labels?
Right.
Right. And so it's like, if you're out there networking, you're not in the studio making the music, so what do you do?
It's
like,
complicated.
It's so
dance,
complex.
Man.
It
Wow.
really is. It's almost like hitting the fucking lottery ticket.
Yeah.
It really is, these days.
But I will say, as a pure consumer, because I don't produce, right? I consume and I DJ, and I kind of like try to put out my own content, but I'm just having a good time, right?
Yeah.
And it's because the core value is I love the music. But I will tell you, when I see a new Terry Jasinto track, I'm gonna go listen to it, because I know you. I can't say I know your sound, because it does move around, but I know the quality, and I know, and I will definitely, go to you before I go to a name that I don't recognize. And I think that is the one thing that, that's the currency somewhat too. Like you said, people know you, or they know your quality of work, then they're probably going to check it out. At least, sort of the casual consumers, right? Like
that's exactly how I shop for music.
Yeah.
There's some guys and girls out there that they're kind of a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, but to expect, like, you expect that quality. Like, it's not just gonna be fucking junk. You might not buy it. Like, I don't expect people to buy all of my stuff. I mean, some do, some don't. But I mean, even my favorite artists, I don't buy all their stuff.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I know that I'm gonna, if I see like an Audio Jack, for example, I'm gonna fucking listen to Audio Jack.
Absolutely.
I mean, and half the time I'll buy it, but I know it's gonna be, no matter what, it's gonna be good. But it might not be, and if I don't buy it, it might not fit into what I'm doing at the time, I guess. Yeah.
This is my sense was, this is exactly what I'd hear from you. Like this, I just always sense you have this level of kind of organization and work ethic, in this, but I hadn't connected with you for so long. It's so cool to, I'm just going to say I'm right. I was right. Like you have this process and this ethic. But then my mind keeps going, well, what the fuck does Terry do for fun? Like, outside of music, like, is there time? I know you're a family man, you got kids, like,
I like to
girlfriend.
eat, man.
Okay.
I mean, I like to travel. I mean, I like to travel as much as possible. That's I've done a lot of traveling since. I mean, I've been to Seattle twice.
Sure.
Since the first quarter, I've been to the Philippines, went to Tulum. Going to Vegas next month to play for the Viva 25 year.
That looks like it's going to be
party.
so fun.
That's going to be really fun. And I'm coming up here again in the summertime. I can't say exactly when, because it's not, but it's going to happen. You know, and I've got a couple other things going on down south. But that's always been like the dream, is to, or I guess if you say, what's the end game for you, right? It's going to be having a very portable, how should I say it, agile type of life, where I don't have a lot on my shoulders, because I don't have like a lot of things and possessions. What I have is the most important to me,
right?
And I can drop it at a dime, and I can move somewhere, and I can work there for like a few months or whatever. I mean, obviously I got my one son. I mean, my oldest one's out the door in Chicago. That's good. So I'm halfway there. Right. I'm halfway there. But I mean, I'm in a situation where I have a lot of flexibility, even though I'm still raising him. He's 13. I'm still raising him. I have a lot of flexibility with what I can do. His mom is super like chill about, she's like, I'm gonna go to Prairie Band this year. What weekend do you want to trade or whatever? We're super like,
that's great.
If I have to go play at a festival somewhere, hey, and it's a date that I have with my son, we'll switch weekends. I still have that flexibility,
Got it.
But I mean, I guess the end game would be like, to have just a more simplified life, do the music thing and travel with the music, I guess, right? But not
almost like a vehicle, though. It's a vehicle for travel and for doing the other things.
Okay. But I'm also cognizant too that like being like a big touring DJ, it's not necessarily what I want to do.
It looks hard, honestly.
It is hard. I
Yeah.
mean, it is hard. I mean, even just doing shit in Southern California, going from LA or Tucson or San Diego or whatever, and everywhere in San Diego, it's those are rough weekends, man. I mean, and so to be like a big touring DJ, I mean, it looks glamorous and stuff, but it's not. It's hard on your body. It's tough, and
Yeah.
would I like to do that once in a while?
Exactly.
Yeah, it'd be great.
I was watching the John Summit. He's a young,
Yeah, he's always a San Diego
stud DJ, right? Like,
yeah.
And on the one hand, you look at his Instagram and he's like, he's in freaking, Phuket, and then he's in Paris, and then he's in these massive, like, beautiful clubs.
Yeah.
But then you start to really think about the logistics. Like, he's on a plane every day.
Yeah,
every other day,
no.
man. It's hard work.
Yeah. I mean, some people really like that.
Yeah.
But me, it's like, I like to like for example, like going to Tulum. People are like, oh, you playing down there? You have a gig? I'm like, no, I'm just going down there to chill out. I'm just, I mean, did I bring my USB key and said in case someone fucking passes out on DJ booth, which is very possible, which happened to me before. I can, and I end up playing the gig. Absolutely, but it'd be nice to like do like a 4 or 5 day thing.
Sure.
Play the gig, spend about 4 or 5 days there, doing some remote work on some thing that's not too overly, like, mentally.
Yeah.
right, like taxing on your brain, and just being able to be present where you are, and that. So I've invested more. That's why I've kind of like sold a lot of my hardware.
Okay.
And I've collected more like plugins, more virtual things. I got a new like portable workstation, so I can, like, if I have to, like when I was in the Philippines, I can just bring my work with me and be there for 3 weeks and make a track. Right? And
Nice.
then and do my work remotely or whatever, and be somewhere. I think that's really the end game to this all.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I mean, the one thing that I haven't heard, which I really dig, and I didn't know if I would or not, is like you have a competitive spirit about the whole thing, but you're not in that like that anxious, sort of bitter, competitive place that some of the people I talk to who are our age, who are still, it feels like they're kind of hanging on to the music thing, mostly nostalgic, like they're not really progressing. They just kind of wish they wish it was like it used to be, and
Yeah, but don't we all fucking wish that?
a little bit,
Don't we
right?
all?
I wish my knees didn't hurt, but
fucking Seven Fisher made a song about it the way we used to do it. I mean, it's like
Totally.
I mean, there's always the nostalgia, and that's gonna kill you. That
For
like,
sure.
like nostalgia is fun in the moment, but it's the killer of joy.
Yeah.
Because you're living in the past.
Yeah.
You're projecting in the past, and you're projecting too much in the future. And I've really look. I used to be one of those bitter motherfuckers. I mean, I used to.
I went through it too.
I think we all do, right? And some of us are more public about it than others, right? But I think really it's if you just master just living in the moment, in the here and now.
Yeah.
And I've just recently gotten to that phase where I can at least do that a little bit.
Yeah.
It really helped me a lot. Because it's like, why spend an energy like hating and like being a keyboard warrior, and you should be fucking like, instead of typing, oh, I hate the CDJs now, you should be like writing fucking, typing in a new whatever in Ableton or something like that, or
Right.
typing a new automation. I mean, that's, how do you want to spend your energy?
Yep.
And if I'm gonna go down, I'm gonna go down swinging, doing work.
Yeah. Love it.
So yeah.
Well, I think, well, I want to get you behind the decks.
Okay.
But is there any, I don't know if there's any like present projects you want to shout out. I know you're doing the weekly Dance Classique.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
any events or projects or remixes or anything you're working on, or any crews you want to shout out to. I want to give you the opportunity.
Like I said, I mean, like this weekend, if you can get out by this weekend, my good friend Oscar P, who has been he's been like the kind of the mentor I've been looking for in San Diego and whatnot. He's done so much for our music, and like most a good portion of my productions are under labels that he distributes for, and that he does A&R for.
Nice.
Right. So Oscar P is actually one of the first people that gets my music.
Okay.
I actually give him first dibs. Hey, do you like it? Because I know that Oscar's gonna do a lot for my music. It's not only about sending your music to a big label. It's about sending your music to a label that's going to do something
Right.
about your music.
Right.
And Oscar P is just one of those people that you know, I mean, my 2 number ones are in labels that he distributes for and A&Rs for. So he's taught me a lot of like really inside secrets about the music industry business on that side. Anyway, so you know, he's up here, you know, playing at the Viva party.
Yep.
On Saturday.
Monkey Loft.
At
right?
Monkey Loft,
Yep.
right? And so
That's
you
gonna
know,
be good.
That's gonna be fun. So I extended my vacation just to see him, and then he's obviously playing with me this coming Wednesday at Dance Classique,
Nice.
which is my 50th birthday. So
Wow.
I typically, I know, right? It's fuck no.
No, you look great, man.
Thank you. I appreciate. Well, you look good too, man. I mean, you know,
It's
but
50.
yeah, 50's the new 20. I mean, I guess, right? You know, but so that's kind of what I want to shout out. I mean, Dance Classique, obviously. We had Trinitron last week, and that was really fun. They really loved her.
I want to get her in here too.
Man,
She-
they
yeah.
really loved her. I mean, they like a Dance Classic. They love that like grindy, just good,
Oh, yeah.
just deep stuff.
Yep.
You know, it's very much like the Flammable of San Diego. It's
Yeah.
been going on for 24 years, and
Amazing.
you know, every Wednesday.
Dude, you're talking. I might extend my flight. I might have to stay down
Dude,
there
it's
for
gonna
that.
be fun, man. You know, I mean, it's gonna be fun. I mean, you know, random people like, you know, like Jordan Strong was in there
Yeah.
that like a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
You know, just randomly and just you know, just happened to be there. It's like the staple of that community.
Yeah.
You know. But as far as other projects, I mean, I'm with John Lee.
Yep.
He and I were playing. You know, I have a remix that I did for him. That's coming out Denied Music at some point.
Sweet.
We're playing together for Music is for Lovers in July.
Right.
Down there, obviously the Viva Recordings, Soul Kitchen, 20 plus year anniversaries, Cinco de Mayo weekend in May. That's going to be May 6th and 7th. I'm playing with DeMarcus Lewis at 18 Bin on Sunday. DeMarcus played for Dance Classique like 2 months
Nice.
ago. Actually, he was playing for us recently.
So cool.
I
love
mean,
his stuff.
as far as the second quarter of this year, I mean, that's really it. And as far as like music projects are going, I'm spending some when I get back home. No, literally not to San Diego home. When I get back home tonight, I'm gonna send some tracks out to some label.
Nice.
So I'm in that shopping phase still of some stuff and just finishing some current projects. I mean, that's really it, you know.
Love it, man.
For right now. And then summer it's really all about laying the groundwork for summer. And summer's a whole, I can't even think about summer right now.
Yeah.
I just can't.
Well, don't stop, man. You're killing it. It's
I
awesome.
appreciate it. Thank you, man.
You
Thank
know, and so what I want to do is give you a chance to get behind
Okay.
the decks,
Awesome.
and you know, I think I just want to. I think you're going to do something a little unique tonight, so I want to give you a chance to just mention.
Yeah. So you know, tonight, you know, you're asking me, hey, you know, can you send me a track list of what you're gonna play? I'm like, God, fuck, what am I fucking play? I'm like, you know what? I've actually never played a set that's entirely my productions. So I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna play all my songs.
Love it.
But at the whole hour and a half,
However long it goes,
however long
man.
it goes, is gonna be all of my original work that I've made, that I published, and
Okay.
some things that are signed, and a couple things that are not signed, that are still they're just projects that I've. One of them I finished like last year, and I haven't signed it yet.
Love it.
You know, one of them is gonna be the track I talked about, you know, tonight, that the heartbreak track. Maybe I'll call it the fucking heartbreak.
Yeah, call the harp. That's good.
You know
I like
what I
it.
mean? Like, you know what I'm saying, right? It's actually called "Play What You Feel."
Yeah.
and the sample uses Marshall Jefferson's voice,
Okay.
and whatnot, right?
Nice.
He's talking about having a speech about how it used to be and all that stuff, and
Yep.
and all that stuff. So that's gonna be the thing. I figured why not for my 50th birthday, just kind of do a little commemoration for all
Man,
that
that's
work.
no. I think it's going to be
Yeah.
amazing. When you first told me that, I was so stoked. Like I get goosebumps when I hear certain songs, when I hear something cool, and I was like, oh, that's going to be.
Now the challenging thing is mixing them together, and that's the thing. You know, Oscar, he said to me, you know, just to kind of wrap this up. Oscar's like, Terry, you know, you need to be playing more of your music, and I was like, and for me as a producer, when you hear something so much,
Yeah.
and then when you blend it together with something else, it fucks with your mind, man. And sometimes I'll even my mixes will get loose.
I
and,
see.
and I'll be like, and sometimes, unless it's a song that I really love, there's a few songs of mine that I've made that I really love, and I play them in certain situations. I tend to avoid playing my songs.
Interesting.
Because of that, because it just sounds different. It doesn't sound like how I made it. And it just kind of, to me, it sounds unsettling in a way. Okay. So I'm going to have some of these and
I got a few of those in the fridge for you.
And try to make this a good set.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be great. Well, thank you for coming through. We really appreciate it.
I'm really honored to be here. I really appreciate it. And, I love talking about stuff, obviously. So, anytime, I'm always here for you guys.
Yeah. And when you come back in summer, come back through. We'll do a round 2.
Awesome.
Sure.
Awesome.
Right on.
Imagining the moment, shorn of motion. The sense of self is separate from the notion. The notion. The notion. The notion. The notion. The notion. No joy, but fates to give way to another. Yet, we have grace to look and then recover. 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 Imagining the moment shorn of motion. The sense of self is separate from the notion.
genre was created out of B-sides, out of rhythm tracks. And it really peaked in the 70s when people would go into a shop and ask for a record and say, let me hear the B-side first. Total reversal. What do you think? And if the dub was any good, they'd say, okay, let me have that. Go on the bed first. And that to me was a key moment. And a new genre was created. Let me hear the B-side first.
Couldn't turn me on. Most
Wanna talk to you. 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 Face to face. Face to face. Face to face.
Baby,